ladies. Shabbat Shalom. You like my music? It's my happy, hippie Hebrew girl music. Hi.
Hello.
There's Isaac. And here's Hadassah. Hadassah is going to read to us in a little bit. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And we are finally, I think, in a good location for some good internet today. And in the end, I just want you to know, if by chance, we go dead for a little bit or a minute, we will just wait because we can see it here that we've gone offline. So we'll just wait a little bit, and if it doesn't kick back in, I will start and restart the show. Okay, and we'll see if that doesn't work. We've already prayed, and some other people have prayed over us, and I believe today is going to be just fine. All right. I want you to sing with us wherever you are. If you're in your car, you're at home with your family, or all by yourself, whatever the case may be. Again, I have not played very long. So Isaac has played a lot longer. In fact, that guitar that Isaac is playing right here, I went with him to buy when we were in college. We were just friends. How long ago was that?
Many moons.
Many moons ago, like over probably 25 years ago?
Yeah.
Maybe more than 25 years ago. So welcome all the ladies who are joining us today to a show dedicated to moving your head knowledge into heart knowledge, and dedicated to lightening up this movement and giving you something to smile about. Okay. My goal, and let me read it actually. So one of my goals with this show is to cultivate, I want you to hear this because it's pretty cool, to cultivate excellence and faithfulness, no matter what your situation is, in the love through sacrifice that you give Yahshua. Did you catch that? So my goal is to cultivate excellence and faithfulness, no matter what your situation is, in the love through sacrifice that you give Yahweh. I believe that through education and inspiration, you can walk out your Ezer Kenegdo role with endurance, beauty, and creativity. I am a summer camp girl, and I absolutely love summer camp music, the old-fashioned kind. So I have these older songs that I have taken and kind of added lyrics to that fit my new beliefs, fit what the scriptures talk about. So enjoy. I don't know what else to say because it isn't your typical praise service music or anything like that. And it's just Isaac and I. So here we go. Don't build your house on a sandy land. No, don't build it too near the shore. Well, it might be kind of nice, but you'll have to build it twice, so you'll have to build your house once more. You better build on the rock. Make a good foundation on a solid spot. Oh, the storms may come and go, but the peace of Yahweh you will know. Okay, I love this next verse. Don't live your life like the pagan does. No, don't live it like your neighbors. Well, they celebrate the pagan days, and Christians aren't living any cleaner. You gotta live set apart. You gotta live free from all those days. Well, you gotta turn your back on Christmas time and turn towards Hanukkah. I love that. If you don't know, we have been struggling to find a place to air our live show. So we've been at pubs. We've been in gyms with basketballs. We can hear through the walls. We can't stream from our own home because we live in a little log cabin way out in the woods, and we only get like 0.5 upload speed, so that won't work. We've tried so many different locations and gone to testing in different places, and so we really struggled trying to find a place. So this is not, shall I say, like the studio by which that I would really love to have someday to invite you into, but we're going to start now, even though we don't have everything that we need, because there's just not time to wait. to have everything perfect. So we're going to get together, we're going to fellowship no matter where we are. And right now we are in a little tight room. I'm really happy. I can close the door and close the shades and have music here in the library. And I would be thankful if anybody wanted to come in and sit and watch and enjoy with us. That's one of the rules with using a library is you have to have it open for the public, which would be totally fine with me. But anyway, I just want you to know that in the end, like, my vision of the Happy Hippy Hebrew Girl show is like, looks a little different than this, but you just stay with me and we'll do this together, and in the end, it'll be super awesome. And also, if you're in the area, you're in North Idaho and you want to come be in the show, you come sit. Come sit and enjoy Shabbat with us here live. All right. Today we're going to talk about, Isaac and I are going to sit down and talk share with you the rest of our story about how we came out of Babylon. So it's part 2 of our story. So I think you're going to enjoy it. I think you're going to identify with our struggles and everything. So just get some hot tea and sit back and enjoy. We're going to teach you a dance. Hadassah's got a scripture for you. Rejoice in Yahweh always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice in Yahweh always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Now there's a time in there where you're supposed to clap. So rejoice in Yahweh always, and again I say rejoice. Boom, boom. Rejoice in Yahweh always, and again I say rejoice. Boom, boom. Okay? So let's do that one time through with the clapping, and then we'll do a round. So somebody's got to clap. Hadassah, you going to come clap? Or just clap right there? Clap loud. Ready? Rejoice in Yahweh always, and again I say rejoice. Clap. Rejoice in Yahweh always, and again I say rejoice. Clap, clap. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Clap, clap. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Clap, clap. Oh, can you imagine? Oh, check it out, ladies. Okay, so when we finally get all our families together and we have a big song service, oh, I can't wait.
Hello, my name is Hadassah, and then I'm going to read to you a verse from Matthew. Matthew 6:5-9. It says, "When you pray, do not be like those who only pretend to be holy. They love to stand and pray in the synagogues and on the street corners. They want to be seen by others. What I'm about to tell you is true. They have received their complete reward. When you pray, go into your room and close the door and pray to your Father who can't be seen. He will reward you. Your Father sees what is done secretly. When you pray, do not keep talking on and on, the way ungodly people do. They think they will be heard because they talk a lot. Do not be like them. Your Father knows what you need even before you ask Him. This is how you should pray."
It goes on from there to he gives the Avinu prayer, which is the Lord's Prayer. And we started actually learning that, I think the first or second week. We were learning that together. So I think we'll pick that up in a week or two. Just so you know, I think the Avinu prayer is pretty cool in Hebrew, understanding what Yahshua was actually saying. So one of the things about the Avinu prayer is he says to sanctify the name. So you basically, the prayer in English, translated from the Hebrew to the English, basically is, our Father who is in heaven, sanctified be your name. Your kingdom come, your will shall be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our bread continually. and forgive us our debts as we forgive those who wrong us. And lead us not into the hands of a test, but deliver us from all peril. That's the prayer that Yahshua taught us to pray. And so it doesn't have the ending part where, kind of the pomp and circumstance part. And and everything in there is like really meaningful. But one of the things that I just wanted to mention today that's really meaningful is the sanctify your name. May your name be sanctified. And so we talked about that during Hanukkah, because sanctifying the name is actually part of reclaiming the original and the true Hanukkah. So we talked about how sanctify the name is part of Hanukkah. So sanctifying the name means that you say it, that you swear by his name, that you use his name. So many different ways to do that. I want you to write how you want to praise or sanctify the name this week for something that he has done for you. So while we sing the next couple songs, I just want you to type in, a story from this week, something that he did that you want to praise his name for. You want to scream out to anybody who will listen to say, I thank the greatest name in the entire universe, Yehovah Elohim. I want to thank him and sanctify his name by praising his name out loud about something that he did for me. All right, so I'm going to do that right now, just real quickly. This week, I've had something happen this week for my office, basically. My office is literally, it's in my living room, and it's nothing really. It's just a table with my computer on it. But I've had this printer for how long have I had that printer, Isaac? 20 years? No, I had it before we were married.
Oh, wow.
Because it was the first thing I ever got a loan on when I had my graphic design firm, which I had before Isaac and I got together. And so I've had it for probably 22 years, this laser writer, HP laser writer, and it has suffered so much. It went to the TV with us. It's just suffered a lot, but it was kind of, it's still cranking out stuff. But this week it it's kind of been dying for a while, but I haven't been able to use it for about a month and a half to 2 months. So I went many months without it, and then I have lost it again. And anyway, point being is that Papa knows what we need. I don't always have to ask him for what I need. And we're going to talk about what that ask anything in my name and it shall be given to you. I'm going to talk with you a minute about what that actually means and what we are actually supposed to ask for and expect to get. So he knows what we need. He knows that we need food and shelter and clothes and all this stuff, but he knows I needed a printer. And I wasn't even thinking about, I need a printer, please, Papa, send me a printer. I wasn't thinking that way at all. It was just the printer's not working. I have a friend who does printer restoration and stuff, so I had Isaac throw it in the back of the truck, and when I went to town, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday. Went to town, took it in to my friend, and he has a business doing this, and I said, hey, printer's still not working. And he said, oh, just bring it in and put it on the floor here. So he came out, got it, put it on the floor, and then he says, hey, don't leave yet, I got something for you. And so he went into the back corner and got me a better, pretty much new, refurbished, beautiful LaserJet printer, and he said, here, have this. Has a cartridge in it. It works beautifully. Once I get the driver set up and everything, it'll work beautifully. It's not working yet because I got to do some stuff on it. But anyway, my point is that I left there with a brand new printer in the back of our truck. I didn't even ask for that. I wasn't saying, Papa, I need this right now. It's just, Papa said, I want to give this to you, and he did. And I just love that. So I want to praise the name of Yehovah for doing that for me this week. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This dark time of year, I'm going to let it shine, let it shine, let it shine this Hanukkah. On day 1, it was a gift of love. On day 2, peace came from above. On day 3, I watched and prayed. On day 4, he showed me the way. On day 5, I saw my sin. On day 6, I learned to forgive. On 7, I took the rest. But day 8 is the best. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This dark time of year, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. It's Hanukkah. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This dark time of year, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This Hanukkah. On day 1 is a gift of love. On day 2, peace came from above. On day 3, I watched and prayed. On day 4, he showed me the way. On day 5, I saw my sin. On day 6, I learned to forgive. On 7, I took the rest. But day 8 is the best. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This dark time of year, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This Hanukkah. He has shown me, oh man, what is good, and what doth your way require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with Yahweh. He has made me a woman to play a role. You're to keep your eyes fixed on Him. You're to celebrate using your beauty. You're to walk hand in hand with Yah. Good song. I want to make sure in this group that the guideline is that I want you to love each other and love in how you communicate. So if you get your panties in a bunch over something that somebody says or I say that you don't like, I totally understand chutzpah, I totally understand conviction, I totally understand, sticking to your guns about something that you'll go to the wall for. There are certain things that I will do. I go to the wall for certain things. But I want you to have not only strength, but manners. Okay, ladies, manners. Manners are so important. So before if you don't like something that I'm preaching or teaching, before you shout out something or whatnot, just hear me out. Hear me out to the end. Okay? Something that I just want our group to be, I really want Papa and Yahshua to really be pleased with our group. I want them to know that we're doing our very best to love each other and put our best foot forward and to be, priests for Him that know what we're supposed to be doing and how to do it. And yeah, so there's a lot of groups out there you could join. There's a lot of groups that I've been a part of and I've left because I don't like the tone, the feel. I don't like how they chew each other up. So this is not a place to chew each other up. It's not a place to say I'm right, you're wrong, kind of thing. It's totally, I understand strength, but let's be loving, let's be kind and courageous, right? Family. We are family. Yah, our Father, is Yahovah, and I'm so glad He's brought us all together. I'm so glad that Yahweh is our family. We are family. Yahshua, He is the way, and I'm so glad He's gathering His people. I'm so glad that the scattered are coming home. Family, we are family. The Ruach, she is our guide, and I'm so glad she's living in my that she's helping me obey. Houses are becoming one. This was last time we'll sing this because this is a Hanukkah song, but I just wanted to share it with the new ladies here because I love it so much. This is my desire, this Hanukkah, Yah, with all my heart, I'll worship you. My soul, I live for you alone. Every breath that I take, every moment I'm awake, you'll have your way in me. I want to pour my life out at your feet. God, with all my heart, I'll obey you. Give you my soul, my temple is for you. Every breath that I take, every moment I'm awake, Y'all put your house in me. Y'all please possess me. Y'all, I give you my heart, I give you my soul. I live for you alone. Every breath that I take, every moment I'm awake, Y'all put your house in me. Y'all please possess me. Y'all please possess me. Facebook group goals. I just wanted to share with you just for a quick second. My goals with this Facebook group are to provide a rabbinic-free, I think I touched on this, to provide a rabbinic-free, as in a clean and safe place for women to get fed, with or without hubbies. You know, some of you have husbands who are not on board, and you can come into this private Facebook group and get fed. But some of you, your husbands are on board, your kids are on board, and you can have them join you. So that's one of my goals. Also to educate, I want to educate women about what an Ezer Kenegdo is and what she was made to do. I also want to inspire women to learn and live this royal rhythm and then offer your beauty to it. So I want to inspire you to live the rhythm of Yehovah, and then I want to, inspire you to challenge you, encourage you to use your beauty to celebrate. And I'm going to explain that later. Just stay with me for a while. All right, also I want to provide a weekly show for fun, for fellowship, and for food for your heart. I want to provide a place to be found, and I want you to find a place. I'll have more to say on that later, but for now that's in a nutshell. I also want to get you to the National Convention, because over the internet is not where I want to end up. What I want truly is to find you through this method, through the cyberspace, but I want you to come to the National Convention, because there's so much more in person we need from each other. So I want you to come so we can fellowship together in person and just hug and be joyful and rejoice, but we need each other that way. All right. Also, I want to give away, and I want to sell you some resources for your journey, for your walk. I've got lots coming. I've got some up, but I got lots more coming, and I'll explain that more later as we go. I also want to fish for women, and I want to show them that they can do this, and that they can also find like hearts. So you know when Yahshua said, "Go fish, I'll make you fishers of men." Well, I feel like he's asking me to be a fisher for women, so I'm fishing for women. I also want the last final thing of this group. I want it to be a place to learn about, to find support, and enter the royal priesthood training. So I want you to learn about the royal priesthood, on what it all entails and how to walk it. All right, so those are my goals. Hadassah and I are going to teach you a dance. We're going to start with ladies. You're going to put your hands on your head. Blessed are you, and then you're going to bend the knee. Okay, so you're going to bend. Word brings on the enemy. You're going to bend. But who I don't know. Just a little bit difficult, but you kick forward, and you're going to go around your leg and back, and you're going to do a grapevine, okay? So, and grapevine, there you go, easy. Okay? And then once you're done with the grapevine, and then you're going to present front, so you put your hand in the back and present this way. And then put your hand in the back here and present this way. Okay, is that pretty much it? So here, here. And then swing to the right, to the left. And then to the back, you're going to do it again. And then sway to the right, to left. And then you're going to turn again to the center. And then you're going to swing, sway. Break to the right. Left, and then you're going to turn again. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, eternity's holy she was doing that at a Sukkot one year in Canby, Oregon, when we went a long time ago, and we fell in love with her ministry, and that was the only dance I could remember when I came back. All right, so I want to show you a little something that if you have kids at home and you do homeschool, I wanted to show you just real quickly, just give you an idea for something to do for the feast. So this is when we took our girls out of public school, it was in the middle of the year, and I thought, oh my, what am I going to do to invite my girls into this, but also fulfill school, at the same time. So we're going to talk about this later. We're going to do like a little homeschool session. I'm going to talk more about it. But something that I came up with was Purim lap books. Now at the time, I didn't know what I was doing, but what I did know was I had all this wonderful stuff that I was learning about the feast. And so Purim is extremely prismatic. There's so much to Purim, the true Purim, and I love this festival. And so all the concepts that I was learning, I wanted to get them in a form where the girls were thinking about the things that Papa wanted to talk about during this time of year, which we know what Papa wants to talk about this time of year, at each time of year when we look at what the feasts are about. So I came up with this Purim lap book, and it's just, cardboard, things I had at home. I didn't have a lot of money to go out at Michael's and spend a ton. When I did, I would save Michael's like coupons and then go every once in a while to Michael's and get one item, like I think, the glitter or, whatever it is I needed to make this cool. But anyway, I made the framework for it, and then the girls, we filled it in. So we have, in Purim, this will be a little bit difficult, but, whoops. Let me get that. So I don't know if you can see right there. There we go. So I see the screen is actually backwards. So it's not a mirror effect, because when I go live, I have to flip it so you can read things, and it makes it a little difficult for me because I'm a little confused. But anyway, this is the how I wanted the girls to study history. So we're going to study the history of Purim, like where it was, what time frame was it in, and what kind of customs did they have at that time frame in Persia and stuff like that. And then we learned, language. We did Purim words, like we learned some words that are Hebrew words that are associated with Purim. And they had little, I don't know if you can see it here, but so Mishlach Mano is one of the words for Purim. And then I have it pulled out, like what's the description, or what description? What's the, what does it mean? Kind of thing. Different scriptures. This is like a huge thing. It's a little hard to show you, but I want to because I think it's really cool. So we put in our traditions, and she has a Purim journal here, and what we do for Purim. Then there's the story, the whole story of it. And of course, we have like little taste testing. I think it was part of like home ec or something, where we made the food and then they tasted it and then they did a review. Did they like it? Did they not? And there were some that they absolutely loved and some they didn't like. The pomegranate cooler, not so much at first, but now they absolutely love it. So about Esther. And then they would do a movie review. They had Purim vocabulary. So what does annihilate mean? Yeah, right. Like second graders. What does annihilate mean? What does it mean to repent? So I have little cards right here. This is how to prepare to meet the king, and I did a really cool little project here, but I'm going to show you that later. This is very special.
Teaser.
It's a teaser. So I have Queen Esther's prayer right here that they memorize, more about the banquet, this sort of Purim blessing, stuff like that. So all the handbooks that I have done for the girls, I haven't done all the feasts. I wish I had them, but when they were in grade school. But this kept us busy, kept their mind focused on the upcoming festival or the feast. It helped them to enter into the material the biggest material about Purim is the death decree and the decree of life right here. So there's scrolls that go in here where they wrote out the decree of death and a decree of life. So it's a great way to engage your children in the feast. Yes, Hadassah has hers too. But one thing that's really cool with Hadassah's has a little pull out right here, and she did a map of where Persia happened. I'm tired. Where Purim happened. Yeah, right. I think that is incredibly powerful to hear each other's stories and to know that there are other ladies around the world who are struggling with some of the same issues that we are struggling with, that you are struggling with. And we're going to tell some of our story. We're going to finish, our story here now. But in that, I struggled so long, and I still struggle. I still struggle for fellowship and for friends and for people to do this rhythm with. And honestly, you might think that we've got it nailed down, where we've got a great, huge, vast, people that we celebrate with, but it isn't like that. Trust me. We fight for every single person that comes to our table for a feast. You know how Yahshua said, "Ask anything in my name and I will do it." One of the things that always bewildered me was that I asked for $1 million and he didn't send it to me. I asked for, a husband early on in my 20s. He didn't send it to me. So there are so many things that I've asked for that have not been given. And I've wondered why. Because he says very clearly that you can ask anything in his name and get it. But I was blown away. I think it was near Shavuot when I was studying this. I was looking at what Yahshua said about when he said ask anything. And there's lots of places in his ministry where he says this, but I want to read this to you. I want you to hear what he says we can ask for and what is absolutely hands down promise. I just wanted to read to you in Luke 11:5. Okay, Yahshua said, "Which of you would go to your friend at midnight and say to him, 'Friend, lend me 3 loaves. A friend of mine has come to me in his journey, and I have nothing to set before him. And from within he shall answer, Trouble me not. The door is shut, and my children are with me in bed. I cannot rise and give to you. I say to you, though he will not rise and give to him because he is his friend, yet because of his constant asking, he will rise and give him as much as he needs. So I say to you, keep asking, and it shall be given to you. Keep seeking, and you shall find. Keep knocking, and it shall be opened to you. For everyone that asks receives, and he that seeks finds, and to him that knocks it shall be opened. If a son shall ask bread of any of you that is a father, will he give him a stone that looks like a loaf of bread? If he asks for a fish, will he give him a serpent instead of a fish? Or if he asks for an egg, will he give him a scorpion? If you then, being burdened with hardships, have splendid gifts to your children, how much more shall your heavenly Father give the Ruach HaKodesh to those who ask him?" I was completely blown away when I saw that. So in Luke 11, this is an incredible insight into what Yahshua was actually saying that we could ask for and get. So he promises that you can ask for the Ruach HaKodesh and she will be given to you. It's not, I can ask for, $1 million and that will be given to me, or I will ask for this and that will be given to me. And I know there's lots on different levels that I don't understand. The whole authority of Yahshua we're supposed to be able to claim and use it. Of course we can, and we talk about that during the ascension time. But for now, I just wanted to point this out, that the Ruach HaKodesh is what Yehovah promises, or Yahshua promises that his Father will send to us if we ask. And you know what? We actually have to, he says we have to keep asking, and be persistent with that asking, which is interesting. Like, I can't just ask for the Ruach HaKodesh to come once and go, well, she didn't show up, so therefore he didn't want to give it to me, or whatever excuse there is. You have to keep asking and say, I'm serious about this, Papa. I really, really want your Ruach. If you have the Ruach HaKodesh, you have absolutely everything. Because the Ruach is your guide. Your Ruach is your shalom. The Ruach is your wisdom. The Ruach is what moves you into repentance and moves you to obey. I mean, if you don't have the Ruach, you've got nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You have to have the Ruach. So she is the one that helps you eat of Yahshua, who is the life, the bread of life. She's the one that helps you, have wisdom to be able to do whatever you need to do in order to have the other things that you need. It just goes on. And I love that where he talks about, don't worry about this, that, and the other thing like the pagans do. So don't I know what you need? Of course I know what you need. And I know it. You don't have to keep asking me for those things. Keep asking me for the Ruach. It's interesting. Yahshua has a formula in his sermons. He says, Papa knows you need these things, the lilies of the field and all that, that area right there where he's talking about it. He says, don't worry about those things, but seek first his kingdom, and all these things will be given to you. So he's giving you a formula. You need these things. You need food, shelter, clothes. You need those things. So here's what you're going to do to get them. You're going to seek first my kingdom. So you're going to seek first my kingdom. And then all these things will be given to you. So that is a great segue into our story, because that is exactly what we ended up doing. First part of our story is in one of the Happy Hippy Hebrew Girl shows earlier, a couple weeks ago, I think. So you can go there and look. So we're in part 2. So we came through just telling you about, where we're from and how we met and what religion we were born into, which was Seventh-day Adventism, and all this stuff. I told you about the last Christmas that we had at the Grange Hall and how horrible that was, and how we almost separated because our marriage wasn't doing very good, and how he went to Ransom Heart, how he came alive there with the message of the heart, and then how we started a roundtable ministry, and then how we've found Michael Rood. So Michael Rood was our segue into this. So he's the one that 30 hours of Michael Rood. It was like a done deal. After I think it was 2 weeks of Michael Rood, and we were like, it was done. That was
No look back.
Not looking back at that point. It was a done deal. So the second part of our story really defines who we are and how we do ministry. Which is interesting. When we were talking about this, Isaac just kind of discovered that a lot of the major things that happened in our life happened at feast time. Right?
Yeah, it was a pattern that we saw in hindsight more, not at the time.
Yeah, so we didn't know it at the time, and some of that we weren't even celebrating the feasts, but when you look back at when these certain things happened, they were actually at feast time. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to run down through stuff. I want to share with you. It's hard. I think every lady that comes on to share their story and stuff, it's kind of difficult to share, because a human being is so prismatic and so complex, and there's so much that make up who you are and why you respond to things the way you do, and your story is so amazing. Each one of ours, you could write a novel about each one of our stories. You could have a soundtrack that follows you around, so it's real difficult to try to share with somebody what happened, because there's so much that is behind that. And in hindsight, we can all look back on our story and kind of say, yeah, I think that's why that happened. But, in reality, we're going to find out with Papa someday when we sit down in a little cafe with him over a cup of Heavenly Joe what really happened.
Yeah, we can paint it however.
Yeah.
A number of different ways, however we choose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can paint our story any way we want. You could paint it, happy, joy, I'm perfect, this is God's will, so yay. Or you could paint it, I'm awful, children of misery, I'm going to die. All right. March or April in 2008.
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Yeah, so 10 years ago, around Pesach, in which we didn't know about Pesach at the time. We were Christian still, and they had us come up. I totally forgot about this story. but it was probably like 2006 or something like that. They had us over to their house for Passover, and I left there saying, I'll never do that again. That's what I said. It was a table full of wonderful food, but we couldn't touch it for 5 hours, it felt like, because we were doing this thing. He was talking and speaking and reading, and I had 2 little tiny girls that were sitting on my lap and stuff, and all they wanted to do was eat the eggs, and they couldn't touch the eggs, and I just was like, we left there and said, I'm never doing that again. And go figure. Look at us now. I mean, it took a while for Papa to get us back on, but it wasn't powerful in our life at that point. It was folly. It didn't seem important.
I don't think it was time yet.
It wasn't time.
Didn't stick. It wasn't time. We had some other things first.
But I do remember when I started celebrating the feast. I remembered that moment when a mom of 2 little girls was told, don't touch, don't eat. You can't eat yet. It's a Seder. I'm like, so I've got children that are starving. Let's eat. And so I didn't understand what the feast was about, but I also remember that moment. So when I craft feasts now, I look at, how can we do this and involve the family and get everybody's heart on board. So that was a big thing. So now we have snacks and different things like that. All right, so I learned about alignments. So around Pesach in 2008, I requested to get my name off of the books. So we were part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and we felt very, very strong about alignments. We wanted to make sure that we were aligned with the right entities. So we had begun to learn about that through Ransom Heart, and so.
Learning about spiritual warfare, we were learning that the agreements we make matter, the alignments we have matter.
Yeah. So both of us decided to get our names off of the church books, because in that you're aligning. And I remember reading my baptismal record. I ran upstairs, dug open my boxes, and found my baptismal certificate, and I read what I had agreed to at 12 years old. And then I got rebaptized at like 21 or something, and I reread that one, and I was like, no, I can't be aligning with this man-made religion. And so I requested to get my name off the books at Passover that year. But it was a very hard thing to do. I had a lot of church duties and responsibilities. I was this, that, and the other thing, and they knew me forever. They didn't want to let me go. I did a lot of good things for the church, and so they didn't want to let me go. So it was kind of a process to get my name off the books, honestly. So around Shavuot in 2008, so June of 2008, you had gone to a Ransom Heart Advanced retreat.
I think the 3rd one.
Yeah, and we had all driven down to Utah, to Colorado. And as we were driving back, he pulled out his journals the other day to find out. And we had been talking about, in the car while we're driving home, talking about a marriage-type arrangement with God. We were like realizing.
Yeah, you pointed out, as you were listening to what I was talking about, you said, I think Papa wants you to make a new agreement.
Yeah.
A covenant style,
agreement.
A marriage type agreement.
Yeah. Now this is before we even knew about the feast. This is before we even knew about Shavuot or the marriage type arrangement or the Melchizedek covenant or any of that. We didn't know any of that, and we're talking about this in the car. So it's obvious to us that the Ruach HaKodesh was moving on our heart at that time to move us into what we were going to be doing. So around that time, I finally got my release letter from the church that said that they had honored my request and taken my name off the books. So then the summer of 2008, so after we came back from Colorado during the summer of 2008, I think I told this a little bit about in part 1, but basically I was like, called my friend Karen, and I was sitting in front of the UPS store. And I remember the time, I remember the place, I remember how the sun was, I remember everything about that moment. She goes, it's time. And I said, it's time for what? And she says, time, I'm going to put something on your porch swing. So she did, and it's 30 hours of Michael Rood. So we had been conversing about Shabbat and a different couple things like that. And she was actually a closet feast keeper. So she had these VHSs that she wanted to have me watch. And they sat up in our cupboard all summer long because I didn't have time for it. And finally, we got around to watching them, and that's when our mouths got to the floor. And within 2 weeks, we had done a 180 and teshuvah real fast. So then Yom Teruah of 2008. So here we were in the summer months. It was towards the end of the summer when we watched Michael Rood. There's so much. I mean, I'm going to write a book someday, but right now this is to share with you who we are, so that you go, who are you and why should I listen to you? That's kind of the question that I want to answer, and that's why I wanted to tell our story. Was, you might think, well, who's Rebekah, and why does Rebekah think that she has anything to say to me? Well, this is why, and I think our story will show you why. All right, so Yom Teruah was the very first feast that we entered into, that we discovered. And one of the things we did was we looked at whatever feast was coming up, and we said, okay, we're going to study that. And then we slammed into the feast, and we put on a feast. And then we and right after that, we start studying the next one. We slam into that one. So that first year was kind of a whirlwind of like, wow. It felt like we were full, so full. I felt like I was drowning in a good way, because I was just so full of Papa's stuff and everything that I had been lied to, and it's just crazy. But in that first Yom Teruah, we discovered how to celebrate the feast. We learned our approach to the feast. Right. So this is part of what defines us. We learned the approach to the feast, because when Papa said feast, the Feast of Trumpets, I looked at that. I looked at that word feast, and I thought, feast. Okay, feast. It means a feast. Like, okay, so I took out tables, low tables to the beach, pillows on the ground. Mm-hmm. Glassware, I had wine glasses, I had china, the whole thing, and I had friends show up who were the closet feast keepers, at the time, and they were like undone because they thought we were going to be on a card table with, Yeah,
they thought it was going to be a picnic on the beach or something.
Yeah, with paper plates and stuff, and I'm like, no, it's a feast. Well, of course it's a feast, Papa's coming, so, the king is coming. So my approach to the feast has always been, what if the king shows up? So we learned how to play in the feasts, how to delight in them. We looked first at what our brother Judah was doing. So we didn't have a group we got into right away, ladies. So if you feel like you're alone, you're just coming out, and you've got to get into a group, a Messianic group or Hebrew roots group or whatever, you don't have to. He told us no. He said no. He closed the door on that for us. And I really heard him say, I want to see what the feasts look like on you, Rebekah. And I want you to play in them and offer to me your heart. And that's what I did. So then Hanukkah 2008, this is like huge. I think this is kind of where we left off last time. I had a heart, I called a heart cleansing fire. So I learned that I wasn't free yet. I didn't realize that just getting my names off the book wasn't enough. So got my name off the book, learned about alignments, got my name off the Man-Made Church's books. But I didn't know that the prophet that runs that church or started that church had been basically influenced, and every day of her life influenced by, and how do I say this publicly? I mean, it's true. It is, she had been basically influenced by a demon, and I didn't realize that the claws of that demon had gotten through her into me through this man-made religion. Is that a good way to say it? Like my parents, who they didn't know any better, they adopted her sayings, her truths, or her stuff as truth, as almost gospel, and ran the family like that. So when I grew up, it was a really good, straight, narrow Adventist family. And a lot of things were done to me, were done in the name of this prophet, Ellen White, because she said so. It's because she said so. And so these things were done, and I didn't know that I wasn't free yet. So it's Hanukkah, and we start realizing that there's stuff in our house that shouldn't be there, like books. So we went through our home that weekend, that Shabbat, and we went through all the books. And but I have to tell you what happened before that, because that was a reaction. Okay, so during Hanukkah, we would give each other gifts. We did 4 nights, and we did theme nights for Hanukkah the first few years. So one of those nights was books. So everybody got just one book. All right, and I got him a book called Whitewashed from, I don't know why I got that book. I have no idea why I got that book. But I gave it to him, and he opens it, and I look at it, and I grab it from him.
It wasn't really for me.
No, it wasn't for you. I thought it was for you, but I grabbed it. And I sat back on the couch that night, and I just devoured that book. It had me at hello kind of thing. It was like, all I knew was like it was exposing this prophet of the church to have been controlled by a demon and taught by a demon, and how what she said didn't line up with scriptures. And you don't understand, if you weren't an Adventist back in the day, I don't know what it's like now, but it doesn't matter because it's still the same church. But it was it was comically talked about, where it was the Bible that supported Ellen White, is how we would laugh about it. You know, it wasn't her stuff supporting the scriptures. It was like the Bible supporting her stuff. So it was huge. And I grabbed this book, started reading it, and I was like undone. I was like so mad. It was snowed out there, and I remember being outside with Isaac, and we're shoveling the snow, and I'm like, oh, I'm so mad. I'm just like, outside.
Yeah, I remember.
You remember? Anyway, and I was just furious. I was furious that this had been done to me. I was furious that this demon had controlled me, and I didn't know it, and I wanted this demon gone. And so we went through the house. We took every single book we had that had anything to do with Seventh-day Adventism, anything to do with Ellen White. And we're talking old. I had a series of the testimonies from my great-grandmother that were leather-bound and had her handwriting in it and everything. And we had brand new books from that my parents had given my girls, that were books from Adventism. And anyway, we took all of them and put them in the backyard in this big burn pile, and we burned them.
So this lady is very prolific and wrote
Yeah.
enough books that you could make a stack of books from the floor to the ceiling.
Yeah.
In your house. And we had 2 like boxes
Yeah.
of books that we came up with.
Yeah. And you said,
That needed to go away.
Tell them what you felt about burning a book.
Well, some of them were very nice books, like leather bound and the gold, on
Yeah.
the, not the spine, but on the,
On the front, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And in like mint condition.
Yeah.
And I had never burned a book before, and trying to
Yeah.
set a book on fire is actually quite difficult in the first place. But then I was just destroying this physical object that's like in such good shape,
Right.
and I was just having these weird conflicting feelings, like, is it okay to burn books?
But,
Stuff.
but we couldn't give them away.
Oh no.
We couldn't give it away, so we couldn't give those books away to St. Benny's or, somewhere else, because that would just propagate the problem, so we burnt them. Well, what ended up happening is Monday morning, so I'm fuming all weekend, we're cleansing our house all weekend. This is during Hanukkah, and this is one of the things that we were so blown away with Hanukkah the first year, because it's all about cleansing. And so it really stuck with us about what this festival is really about. On Monday, I get up really early, 3 o'clock in the morning. I get to work. I had a design firm at the time. And I'm up, and the first email I get, I check email, the first email I get is from a friend, and she goes, pray, pray. Oh gosh, do I say this publicly? I have never said this publicly. Okay, so you have to understand, and this is a huge part. I have never said this publicly, and so I am a little bit like, wow, but you know what? This is empowered. This is being really cut free from, this is Papa really coming through for me. I really needed this. I worked at the schools, I worked at the church, I even worked in that building as a task force worker for a year as assistant youth director there. And the whole thing had burnt down the weekend that we were getting cleansed from this demon. And before I went and saw anything else, I wanted to go see the news reports, I remember. But I dropped my head and I said, Papa, I said, I want to know if it burnt. I want to know where this fire started. I said, I want to know what you think before I go see what the news says. So I said, and I sat there and I stared at that news report and I was just going, oh my gosh, like, Papa, like, did you? And I heard him say, I did, like, this is for you. Because I want to free you from this. And I was like, no. How? You know, and then in the next breath I heard, well, wait, Rebekah, you say, you in the scriptures it says, and you say all the time, I would have died for you. Why wouldn't I burn something down for you?
Right.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know what Papa's going to say to me later about that story, but I know what I heard. I know what it did to me, and what it did was it almost instantly, it was like Papa burnt down, burnt away, got rid of, freed me from the claws of this demon, and it literally, I felt it rip right out of me. It was amazing, and that is like a Hanukkah that will go down in history for us.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I'm so interested in Hanukkah and why I go to the wall for it. Because there was consecutive years of a cleansing fire. There was ice one year. You know, it was just different cleanses that we went through that he brought us through. That was a huge part of my story of getting freed from man-made religion. And it was very painful, but very freeing. I'll never forget. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get so much mail. But no, it's true. It's true. It's absolutely true. I mean, he does all kinds of things for us, isn't he? Because he loves us. And so I learned that Hanukkah was provision that year because we actually, Hanukkah at that time fell right on Christmas. It was the 24th and 25th is when it started. And so we actually were able to move our children from from Christmas to Hanukkah very seamlessly. You know, it's, and we'll share more about that later and how we did that. But I had a graphic design firm prior to us getting married. We did that for 9 years, and then I had a photography business, so we were wedding photographers, and we had been wedding photographers for a good 7 years or so, and we were working out of our home, but I was tired of the brides coming in, tripping over dogs and cats and kids and everything, and so we decided to open a studio in town and thought we had a pretty good, you know, base of people to clients to do this. So we opened a studio. It was a beautiful studio. We opened on April 4th, and in 2009. So this was after we started to celebrate the feast, and we're still, you know, we have this business. I'm starting to realize there's an issue with Shabbat, and because most weddings are on Shabbat. But nevertheless, the depression was in full swing at that point, and I lost pretty much every contract every bride that I interviewed, which I interviewed more brides that year than I had any other time, but they all kind of came away with it and said, you know, I think I'm going to have my aunt do this, or my uncle, I don't have the money for this kind of thing. And so we were struggling to make this, you know, old business, but put in a new spot. We're struggling to make it thrive. Right? I know I'm doing all the talking here.
Yep.
Sorry.
Don't have to apologize.
All right, but we came to our first Shavuot in 2009, and that is when we took Shavuot extremely serious. Yeah. So we knew it was about covenant. We knew we wanted to enter covenant and promise the rest of our life to Papa, because we weren't going back.
Yeah, it was that first year that we realized that we actually were not in covenant.
Right.
And had not been.
Right.
Even though we talked about new covenant and proclaimed that through all our years in Christianity, we realized we actually were not in covenant.
I know. That's a really good point, because a lot of people will say, well, I was saved at such and such a date, such and such a time. And I used to say that, but no, actually you're not. It's called in covenant living Shabbat. Shabbat is your sign of being in covenant, which is the important thing. So, yeah, we finally realized that.
Yeah.
So we, at that Shavuot, we didn't know how to celebrate it. We had been talking out loud to each other, studying, and didn't know quite what we were going to do for Shavuot. The very day of Shavuot, we come up to Shavuot and we're like, what is this about? Like, I mean, we knew kind of what it was about, but we didn't know how to celebrate it. Well, our two daughters come out of the bedroom dressed as brides, and we're like, whoa. They dug in the play box and come out as brides, and we're like, whoa, what's that? And we're like, that's it.
Yeah.
Because they had been watching and listening to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little child taught us how to sit. So we're like, oh, of course, it's a wedding feast. So, you know, we got together a beautiful table with rings and just whatever. It was beautiful and real simple.
And we put up a huppah.
We put up a huppah that year.
Yeah, so we celebrate Shavuot under a huppah.
Under a huppah.
I think we even slept under it.
I think we slept,
the night.
Yeah, because it's a wedding, so everything a huppah. So anyway, so we said I do. We were in love. We said I do. And 2 weeks later began our life as the children of misery. So 2 weeks later, we were like, Papa came and he began to tear us apart. And we had just said I do. We had just said no matter what, and he began to tear us apart. So 2 weeks later, there was an electrical storm in this new studio, and it fried all the computers. The brand new computers, it fried them. One thing, though, about the fact that the computers were all fried and everything, what happened was, ended up that actually he did tear us apart, but he healed us at the same time, which is kind of a bizarre thing. But he actually was providing for us, because what happened was an insurance claim kicked in, which provided the money that we needed to go into the next phase of our wilderness time that we didn't even know we were going into, but he was setting the stage to actually give us enough money. It was barely enough, but it was something to enter into the wilderness time.
So we opened the business in April. We tanked by October. We were tanked by October, but we decided not to troubleshoot Papa. We decided that we were his. This was covenant time, and he was going to have to deal with this, and we weren't going to try to troubleshoot around him. We were going to go for this ride, is what we decided to do. We began to liquidate everything. We tried loan modification on the house and everything. Anyway, long story. Basically, we ended up losing the house. But prior, as it was kind of going down, you have a certain amount of time before you, before foreclosure actually kicks in. And it was really interesting that Sukkot that year, we ended up having Dr. David Perry sit on our couch that year during Sukkot. And that was a huge part of our journey, because right as we were beginning the process of Papa started taking us to the wilderness, he gave us a job to do. So he's tearing us apart. He's taking everything away from us. We're surrendering everything, and we're joyful at the same time. I was joyful at the same time. He's freaking out. He's freaking out. I know Papa. I know he's going to provide, but one thing I did have to make a real conscious decision on is not troubleshooting, because I know a lot of people in that same time frame were getting offers to come out, and they were basically rejecting the offer to come out because they didn't want the free fall, because they wanted security, and they it's just this social, everything is, you have to have a house, you have to have a job, you have to have this. It's like, what? You're doing what? You're not going to have a house and you're not going to have a job? What? It's just, right. Doesn't make any sense to people. So what makes sense and what's logical is go get okay, you lost that one, go get another one. You lost that house, go get another one. Go rent, go live with your family, go something. But we knew that Papa was saying, trust me. We knew that Papa was saying, I want you to learn who I am, and you're going to learn who you are. But that can't happen if you're troubleshooting me. If you keep making your life all perfect, that's not going to happen. We need another 2 hours for this story. All right. So we got the first major assignment for our time in the wilderness. So it was to edit and publish Dr. David Perry's book, Back to the Melchizedek Future, and the Covenants of Promise book. So we had 2 books on our lap to do, and I was so happy to do it. I wanted to do it for the King, but we're losing everything at the same time. Hanukkah of 2009, so here you have Sukkot, and then Hanukkah, after the Great Hanukkah the year before, we basically, during that time, it gave our studio away. I mean, it was done. Our contract was up, and there was another beautiful cleansing that has to do with ice, but we won't get into that right now. Follow through to Purim of that same year in 2009. We threw a huge Purim. We've used places all over the place to try to, bring people to the feast, because it's a feast, people, and we wanted a wedding feast table. We wanted like tables full of people. We couldn't find anybody to come with us. Our family wouldn't, friends wouldn't, so we would put posters up all around town. We put, advertisements in the radio and all different things. So we used a lot of different places, and one of the places is the libraries. So we're here at a library today, but we did Purim at the library. So we're losing everything. Our house is on the slide to foreclosure, and so we've got this huge party we're throwing at the library. We have spent every dime we have on providing the food and the decorations and the whole thing. And down the stairs walks my old roommate from college. I hadn't seen her for 20 years. And she comes down, and because I had it advertised publicly, her and her family were in the area and I didn't know it. So they come down, and we were like, hug and all that stuff. Got to know each other again. And through the course of that period of Purim and Passover, right, as it going into Passover, they found out about our situation, and they had a little piece of land that they wanted to give that to us. And we had given them, we were making juice at the time for the feast, Kingdom Cellars juice, and we had given them like 12.
Yep, 12 cases.
Yeah, we gave them 12 cases for their Passover, that Seder that happened that year. And at Passover that year for us, they gave us a deed to that little property. It said sold to, Isaac and Rebekah Garvin for 144 bottles of Kingdom Cellars juice. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, there's so much to that juice. That's a whole nother story. But so in Purim 2009, Papa begins the process of giving us something to live on. So we're not going to be in a box on the street. We're not going to have to, shack up on the couch of mom and dad or whatnot like that. And we're not troubleshooting. We're trusting. So I didn't even have to see the piece of land. I started packing before I saw it, right?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
When you walked into the kitchen?
Because you knew that Papa provided it, and so you're like, I don't have to see it.
Yeah, whatever he wants.
That's good.
I knew, it's like the fingerprints of Papa were all over everything. In fact, when we got the deed, the shape of the land was kind of weird. And I remember 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and went, oh, I bet that is a Hebrew letter. And I remember running downstairs and getting all my Hebrew books out, and I looked, and it was the shape of a samak, or samak, however you say that. Samak. And in context,
in Paleo Hebrew.
And in context, in the Paleo, it was a tree being supported, and in context, it's like you lean fully on Yahuwah, and He will support you. And we were like, there is a message in the land. We wouldn't want to be anywhere else but right there. So, we began this process of learning that He would provide. And that we would actually obey no matter what, because we actually learned about ourselves too.
Right.
Yeah, we learned a lot. So Isaac doesn't normally like to be on camera, but okay. So one of the things I wanted to mention as I got 15 minutes left. As we were losing everything. Well, the one thing that was stable
was the rhythm.
Yeah.
The calendar.
Was the calendar, was the rhythm. Papa's rhythm was the stable thing in our life, and that we hung our hat on. That was everything to us. There was nothing else that mattered. So that was the one thing that was incredibly stable. And we knew that every feast He would show up, the Ruach would show up, so we were filled. We were in the process of all this loss and surrender, but you show up to a feast, you get to feel like you're a human being at the feast, as royalty, and enter that, and it was everything to us. It still is everything to us, but okay. So then Pesach 2010, we actually, I already told you that we got the deed. So then summer of 2010. We were led to the wilderness, seriously led to the wilderness. Summer 2010, we started working on the property, knowing that winter was coming, and knowing that we were losing the house by end of the year. We were going to be losing the house. It ended up that we didn't actually have to lose it. We got a short sale offer on it, so we didn't actually foreclose, but basically lost. I mean, we lost it. It's just. Yeah. Oh, here, before I forget, this was us. There we go. Right before we lost everything. This was the year. This is the last. Some of the last photos I took with my big cameras. Isn't that cute? Aren't they adorable? So some of the last pictures I took before I lost my cameras. For the business. And don't get me started on that. No, don't cry. No, I'm not done. Okay, so summer 2010, we wrestled with Papa. We learned so much about truly what it's like to be set apart. So starting this summer of 2010, for those of you that don't know, we basically got this piece of property, and it was nothing. I mean, there was nothing there.
Right, raw land.
Raw land. No well, no nothing. And here, this family was going to move their family up there, and we got stopped from building a cabin. There was a man that didn't like us up the road, an older man. We call him the Canaanite, and we're the Israelites. He's the Canaanite.
And he didn't want us in the land.
He didn't want us in the land. He was extremely mad and made it very clear that he didn't like us, and so he called in all the shots to try to make us go away, which was, I mean, we had the deed. That is a huge story. That is for a book I'm going to write someday. But basically, we had to live in a tent, so we couldn't build while we were there, and we were there for 4 winters. We entered 4 winters. I count them by winters, but and he made it really hard on us. But we lived in a teepee during all that time, and my girls really feel like they grew up there. That's their home. That's how they feel that was.
Yep.
That was a special place for them. For us, it was hell. If you go online to our YouTube channel, you can see some of our life there under Modern Pioneering there. But, in the teepee, all that time there, that's a huge story, one that I'll write a book about someday. But we wrestled with Papa. We found out who he was. We found out who we were, that we're Ephraim. So there was a lot of identity stuff going on. We discovered how to truly be set apart and what that really looks like. And it's a lot of loneliness. A lot of loneliness. Being set apart isn't fun. It's wonderful in that deep joy that you have, that you know that you're in good company, that in the end you're not going to be alone, that Papa has this beautiful thing waiting for you. Paradise is waiting for you. But we learned at that time it was just Papa and us. And that he wanted to provide. I mean, he provided so much, little things, half a top of a tree, because we needed wood, because we needed heat. For firewood. Yeah. There's so many great stories there that we could share and go on for a long time. But basically, skip forward to Passover 2011. I mean, we literally would move for the feast. We would move everything out of the teepee, and then we would have as many people as we could come up, and we would decorate and I would cook over a fire. I mean, if you think that okay, this is why I feel like I have something to say. I have ground to stand on. I've lived hard. I have done hard. I've done it with 50 cents in my pocket. I know what it's like to have no water to drink and to go to the supermarket and literally have scrounged through the car to try to find enough money to buy 1 gallon of water. When I get to the counter, I don't have 10 cents. And the person behind me gives me 10 cents. I know what it's like to be at that level of poverty. And I know what it's like to have absolutely nobody around, no help. And I know that that you obey anyway. And I know how important beauty is. And I know how important those feasts are to hang your hat on. It's the rhythm that kept us together. It held our family together. It kept me together. It gave us something to focus on besides survival. And every once in a while, we could feel like kings and queens, like we were created to be. Dress up and get out of our garbage that we were wearing and stuff. And all those dress-up clothes that we had for the feast went away in a box. I mean, literally, we didn't touch them until feast time. It was so important. Pesach of 2011 was the time that Papa said to us, I am here with you. It was an unbelievable moment. We're in the middle of Passover preparations we have 17 people coming that night into the teepee. We've moved everything out, going to move everything out. Isaac and I are praying, and remember, we were praying for...
So we've been praying for good weather.
Yeah.
Like the day before
we
started, because we were having people up. We wanted a nice event. We wanted to be able to spill outside the teepee into the outside space. Right. And praying for a lovely sunny day.
And what happened, we woke up on Passover and it was snowy. And we were like, no! So we're rustling around. We got people coming at 4 o'clock, and it's snow, and I'm doing dishes on the ground. I'm cooking over a fire. I mean, it's like insane. And I'm so happy to do it, but it's just insane. Isaac's like, oh my God. But all of a sudden, our teepee was on the side of a mountain that made its own weather. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm outside doing something. Isaac is we're on different parts of the property, and all of a sudden, there's this huge thunder, crash, lightning,
Yep, right over us.
Right over us.
So loud.
Right over the teepee.
Yeah. And it was just one.
Just one.
Yep.
Just one.
There was never any thunder off in the distance before or after.
Right. There was no thunderclouds, there was no thunderheads, it wasn't snowing, it was dead calm, if I remember right. And all of a sudden I ran in, I said, what time is it, what time is it? I ran in, I looked at the clock, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the nose, and I went, oh my, wow. It's like Papa said instantly, I am going to be with you here, Rebekah, but I'm going to be with you the way I want to be with you, and I'm going to show you that I'm here the way I want to show you I'm here. I'm not going to give you great weather. I'm going to show up in a thunder at the very hour that my son died on this day many years ago. And to me, that was, that filled me up. I was high on that for a long time. During this whole wilderness time, our fridge was about a quarter-mile round-trip hike in the woods with, no light at night. It made you rethink whether you wanted ketchup or not at night when you forgot it. But I remember in the winters that I would have these huge boots on, this huge Laplander wool coat on, and be walking down to the fridge to shop to get groceries. We basically would go down with a basket, get groceries, come back up to the teepee and cook dinner. And at that point, we were down to 2 meals a day because it's just way too hard. But I remember just begging Papa. I would cry. I would pour my heart out. And why aren't you hearing me? Do you see me? And we used to call ourselves the children of misery. Right?
Yeah.
But we kept reminding each other, don't grumble. Don't grumble. 400 years in slavery, 40 years in the wilderness, 4 years for us, no more than that. We were like, we don't want 40. Right?
Yep. We're slogging.
So we
trying not to grumble.
Yeah, and for all those years, we got to partake of the manna. We got manna. He gave us manna, but manna is not the way we were supposed to live.
It's old.
It gets old really fast. You're not supposed to live on manna. So he didn't intend that. That was a provision for a time. And so, by the end of it, we were like, Papa, we love the manna and thank you so much for it, but I am so done with the manna. I'm tired of being cold all winter. I'm tired of 9 months of winter. And that's a whole other story, like I said. This journey out of man-made religion, which all of us have, come from, and into the wilderness time, and out of the wilderness time, into, we're not completely, I don't know if we're completely out, but we're not there anymore. So we have flush toilets and flip-on lights and running hot water. Okay, so that we have. I think there's another, place for us. Because it's definitely hard in a little log cabin that has no insulation and where the chinking is gone and the weather comes through and all this. It's just a different time for us right now. But this journey influences our ministry in these ways. We believe that the heart is central. Okay. 2, we live with a lot of freedom. A lot of freedom. Number 3, we have been cut away from the world, so we've been cut free from the world. Number 4, basically we believe we're dead already, so why not be a bondservant to the king? Come to the edge where you just want it to be over, and if you actually went through with that edge being over, if you actually went through with it being over, well, why not stop right there and say, okay, I'm just going to be your bondservant. Kind of how we believe. We also believe that Yahweh's rhythm is provision. It is the provision for us. It's what we can hang our hat on. It's our stability. It's our lesson plan. It's our place of delight. That everything revolves around these feasts. I mean, how you treat others, taking care of the poor, the homeless, and widows. I mean, it's what you do with your tithe money, eating kosher. I mean, you can find everything you need to study about. Everything to think about is in these feasts, and it's this beautiful rhythm, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, is because you turn from the pagan rhythm to his rhythm and walk this out. It's going to be everything to you, and it's going to be everything, especially when you're going through the wilderness time, which I know a lot of you are, and it's gonna, for all of us, we all have to go to the wilderness. So you basically say, I promise you, Papa, and boom, first thing he's going to do is take you to the wilderness. I mean, and some people, wilderness is, oh my gosh, I have to live in the suburbs for a while. For us it was teepee. Other people it's going to be different things, but
Right.
you know. But, you know, Yahshua, I mean, first thing in his ministry, first thing that happens is he's sent to the wilderness. Why would we think it's any different for us? All right, and then lastly, things that influence our ministry, how our journey influences our ministry is that we play and we delight in the feasts. And we do it without rabbinic nonsense, without the messianic mess, without the Hebrew roots mess. I mean, we're Melchizedek, which is a huge thing, and we'll talk about it later, but basically we are Melchizedek, and the delighting in the feasts is something that we did for a very long time. What Papa said, no, you can't have any fellowship. You can't have any steady fellowship. I'm not going to let you. I want to see what these feasts look like on you, Rebekah. I want you to have all freedom. I don't want anybody telling you what to do. I don't want you to think you have to impress anyone or do it the same way that Judah does it or these messianic people do it. I want to see what you're going to do with it, Rebekah. And that has influenced our ministry huge because of that time that he gave us to just, you know, play in them and not say, oh, we can't do this or we can't do that or blah, blah, blah. It was like, Papa, what do you think? And you know, it was a beautiful thing. And then another thing that really affects our ministry is that we went straight to the Melchizedek covenant. So we didn't tromp through messianic, we didn't tromp through Hebrew roots, we didn't tromp through just Judaism and all that stuff. We went straight to Melchizedek, and this was Papa ordained. And that's a long story as to how that happened, but it affects our ministry. So we've never walked in the rabbinical nonsense. We don't have that in our hearts. We don't have that on us. It's not something we had to shake off. And then finally, we understand the other thing that influences our journey is that we understand poverty, we understand loneliness, we understand isolation, we understand loss, and we understand surrender, we understand betrayal, and we understand rejection. And so in all of those things, we also understand the deep, deep joy that is there beyond your understanding kind of thing when you are subjected to all this persecution and you're still breathing, you're still okay, you're still in Yehovah, you know, and so this affects everything that we do. So it is time for us to go. There is, I got through what I had to do. I wrote out just kind of a little flow chart of our story. We went from awakening to heart alive, to freedom, then to free to do what, and then free to return and obey. Oh, okay. To alignments having to get broken, to heart cleansing, to covenant, as in which covenant, then to cut free from everything, and then into the wilderness, and then we're learning we're Ephraim, and learning who our Elohim is. He's so insight, how do you say, he has a lot of insights, you know, you're like amazing with your insights, and where do we do best when we're talking about kingdom things?
Yeah, it comes in spurts.
It's been hard. It's been a long journey, and someday I'll write the story. I'll share. You can walk through our journey with us in a more intimate way. But for now, that was just an overview. So I believe that I have a leg to stand on. I have a platform to stand on to say, you know, don't give me wine speeches because I know what it's like. I also know what the journey's like, so I give a lot of space for that, a lot of grace for that, for myself as well. So I'm going to extend that to everyone who's around me and just encourage you to walk this path and that Papa has called you to. So I encourage you. I'm excited that you're here in the group. I thank you so much for watching our show today. And we're still working out some kinks in technology and whatnot, but you have a wonderful evening, and hopefully you had a good Shabbat today full of rest. And we are going to pack up and journey ourselves home. And
Hadassah, say goodbye.